people, welcome to the vlog. Today I'm going to be talking about how to write a TV script. This video is going to be mostly just getting started. It's not going to go into formatting and all that stuff, which I will talk about in a later video. But this is mostly going to be tips on writing a TV pilot. I'm going to be talking mostly about writing a 1-hour primetime drama. I'm not going to be covering a comedy, mostly because that's just not my area of expertise, and there is a big difference between the two. I might in the future talk about how to write a 90+ minute feature film. We'll see. If I get enough likes and comments down below, then maybe I can go ahead and do that. But for now, we're going to work on getting started. If you want me to go more in depth on how to format a script, you'll be able to see a video later on in Veda, unless it's already up when you're watching this, and then you can probably just click here. Click it. Okay, so the first thing and the most important thing that you need to know before writing your script is you need to get to know your story. If you have an idea in mind, you don't have to have a whole bunch of main characters and all their story arcs and their names and their backstories and all that stuff. You don't have to have that right away. If you want to get to know your story, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. You have to ask, what's the point of your story? Why do you want to tell it? And how do you want to tell it? If you can answer those 3 questions, then you're going to be able to write your own pilot. Now, I heard this joke once that there's only 4 types of primetime dramas, and that's cop, doctor, lawyer, and family. My TV show falls into the family category, and obviously those 4 are not the only types of stories that you can have for a TV show. There's always hero shows, supernatural shows, mysteries, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do, but those are the 4 main ones that you'll see on television, which I'm sure you've noticed by now. Okay, so when you're figuring out what the point of your story is, it's really important to get deep down into why you want to tell it, because whatever your story is, there's a reason that it came to you, and there's a reason that you want to tell it. So why do you want to tell possibly millions of people your story? You have to figure out why your story is important to you and why you're willing to write this out and expose your innermost feelings to millions of people. Now, obviously there are some cases where you're writing a story, you want to write a TV show, and you don't necessarily have that emotional backstory to it. There's no real reason that you connect with it. You just think it's a really cool idea and that you've got all these ideas that you want to run with, and you could create, you know, various story arcs with it, and that's fine too. But you have to find a way to relate those kinds of stories to the audience. That is the most important thing. If you can relate to your story, the audience will too. You just have to figure out why you relate to it. You might have an idea for your story, but you're not exactly sure how you want to tell it. Maybe right now you're thinking that a TV show is the best idea, but it might even be a better idea for, you know, 90 minutes, for just a movie to be compacted into one thing to watch instead of a series that you visit every single week. Maybe it works better as a novel. You know, there's all kinds of different ways to tell stories. Me personally, I've always connected more with television, so I feel like my stories that I want to tell resonate on a deeper level that I want to revisit every week. So that if someone connects to the show and connects to the story, that they have that every week to go back to and feel like that's something in their life that they can relate to that makes them happy. So you have to be sure, if you want to write a television show, that you want to write a television show. You might start writing it out and then realize that, you know, all these ideas that you had in your head won't work for a serialized story, a serialized program. But in order to know that, you have to get to know your story. You have to know what the point is and why you want to tell it. Something that you cannot go without in a drama is conflict. You absolutely have to have conflict in a story, or else no one's going to be interested in it. No one. If you're going to do a drama, that is. The first conflict is man versus nature, which is a conflict that occurs to a character that is out of their control. Then you have man versus man, which is obviously a conflict between 2 different characters, which is something that you'll see a lot of in TV shows. And then there's man versus himself, which is my favorite one to write because, I don't know, I just feel like it's easier to identify with. I feel like we've all made mistakes in life. Those of us who are storytellers, we can find ways to create characters who have been in that place that we have been in before, but tell it in a different way. So if you have your idea, if you have more than just a general idea, you have some characters in mind, maybe their relationships, some of the backstories. You don't have to have the whole backstory figured out. If you're just wanting to get started and dip your toes in, you can start with just the pilot, and you don't need all that much information. The pilot is designed for the audience to get to know that world and get to know those characters and find a connection for them. That's your job too. You have to be able to, as you're writing your pilot, get to know your own world that you're creating and get to know these characters and find a way to connect with it. And that's why I think writing pilots is really cool, because you get to experience the same thing that the audience is going to experience. Once you get past those first couple of episodes, you're going to be writing stuff purely for the audience's enjoyment. They're not going to know what's going to happen next. But you still feel that connection when you're writing these stories for these characters. If you're going to have a big change for these characters, there's still a reason behind that, and you'll grow closer to these characters than most of the audience ever will, because it's come from your own mind. You care more about these people than anybody else, no matter what any of the fangirls say. For me, the two most important things when it comes to writing a script is your characters and their dialogue. The dialogue will come naturally if you know the characters. If you get to know them pretty well, then the dialogue will basically just flow out of you. If you've already been accustomed to storytelling and you've written stories before, it should come naturally to you once you get to know the character. But in order to get to know the character, usually you have to connect that person with someone that you know personally. It doesn't have to be, you know, exactly like that person, but if they have little pieces of people that you know into one person, that usually helps. You can imagine what that character would do if they were in a specific situation and what they would say. So my big thing, once you know what your story is and why you want to tell these people this story, is to get to know your characters. You want these characters to have attributes where people will root for them and also hate them at the same time. They have to be human, unless you're writing a show with robots or something. If you're going to write human characters, they have to be human. They have to have flaws, they have to have compassion, they have to have a reason for living. They have to have all these things that people will identify with, because they'll see things in a character that they have experienced themselves or know people who have experienced, people that they care about. So the most important thing after figuring out what your story is and what world you're going to be living in is the characters. That is the most important thing, is the characters. But the characters need somewhere to live too. They have to have a world that they fit into or don't fit into. But the most important thing is that this story has to make sense for you. You come up with a story and it is the most passionate thing you've ever written in your life, and it's something that you care about deeply and it's so important to you. And maybe it gets picked up by producers and networks, maybe it doesn't. If it gets picked up and nobody watches it and it's a total flop, it still mattered to you, and it mattered to that network. So it mattered to somebody, and that's the most important thing. If your show doesn't get picked up, it still mattered to you. Maybe there's things you need to work on, but it mattered to you, and that's what you need to hold on to create that next body of work, or that next episode, or that next show. The most important thing is to care about it. If you're feeling stressed out about writing and you're not sure what you want to write next, you don't want to write outlines. I know outlines aren't some people's things. I'm not crazy about outlines. If you're feeling stressed out about it and you've been sitting in front of a computer trying to type forever, you can take a break from it. Take a break, watch people, have conversations with people. Stuff will just pop into your head out of nowhere, I promise you. You know, certain lines, certain storylines, certain scenes, certain characters will pop into your head out of nowhere when you're not stressing about it. But you have to also be committed to the work. So don't feel too stressed out if you haven't written a script before. If it's something that you want to do, do it. You don't have to show anybody your work at first. Do what you think works for you. Maybe try and flesh it out, watch other people's videos talking about this sort of thing, and see if it makes sense to you. See if it's something that you think other people will care about and find interesting. And then you can show it to people, and people will give you feedback. And if they tell you they like it, then you better demand that they give you more than that, because how is that going to help you? People that you care about will generally tell you that they like it, you know, because they don't have, either they don't have critiques for you or they don't want to tell you that it wasn't very good. If they don't give you enough feedback, you're doing something wrong. Don't be overcritical of your work though. You have to be able to take time to look at it, really pick it apart, figure it out for yourself. If it makes sense to you and you see nothing wrong with it, then go for it. There really shouldn't be any reason that you can't do this. If this is what you want to do, you need to just go for it. That's it. That's all you need to do. So that's basically it on getting started. Like I said, I will be doing another video shortly, sometime this month, on formatting a script, because there's a lot of stuff to go into that, and I didn't want to merge it into one video because it'd be way too much to take in at once. If you want to see something else in regards to writing a script, if it's writing a feature-length film or a short film or a cable show or a comedy show or something like that, if there's something that you want to learn that I didn't cover or I will not be covering later on, please let me know in the comments below and I will do my very best to make it happen. Everything that I have learned, by the way, about writing scripts and filming and editing and all that stuff is completely self-taught. Everything that I've learned from watching TV and watching videos of other people and behind the scenes stuff, it's all completely self-taught, and if I can do it, you can do it too, so